Greetings, my scattered brothers and sisters in the Lord. Trust you know the Lord is with you wherever you find yourself scattered today, and that you know that his presence with you is more than enough for whatever you might face today. Well, we are with Jesus, Mark chapter 14, and Jesus is before the high priest. And I'll go ahead and pick it up at verse 61. So Mark chapter 14, verse 61. But Jesus remained silent and made no answer. Again, the high priest asked him, "Are you the Christ, the Son of the Blessed?" And Jesus said, "I am, and you will see the Son of Man seated at the right hand of power and coming with the clouds of heaven." And the high priest tore his garments and said, "What further witness do we need? You have heard his blasphemy. What is your decision?" And they all condemned him as deserving death. And some began to spit on him and to cover his face and to strike him, saying to him, "Prophesy." And the guards received him with blows. So I know we talked a little bit about this the other day in terms of the question, are you the Christ? Are you the Son of the Blessed, the Son of God? And Jesus' answer, "I am." And Jesus declaring what Mark told us from the very beginning, that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God. And we saw the reaction of the high priest and calling, tearing his garments, and this is blasphemy, and calling for Jesus to be condemned. And everyone agreeing to condemn Jesus for blasphemy. And then we see the reception that he received. People started to spit on him. People covered his eyes and started to strike him, telling him to prophesy, who hit you? And then the guards receiving him with blows. And some translations, slaps in the face. And so Jesus has told them who he is, and he is rejected, he's condemned, he's, mocked and ridiculed and spit upon. And that last line, the guards received him, maybe they took him, but that word also received him with blows. What this reminds me of is when Jesus asked the disciples, "Who do you say that I am?" And Peter said, "You are the Christ." And Peter got it right. Jesus is the Christ, the Messiah. And then Jesus began to teach them very plainly that he was going to be crucified, that he was going to be handed over, that he was going to be put to death, and on the third day he would rise. And Peter's response was to rebuke Jesus. Peter would have none of it. You're the Christ, and the Christ isn't supposed to get crucified. The Christ was supposed to conquer in Peter's mind. So Jesus was teaching that his role was going to be different than Peter's expectations, that Jesus was going to give his life as a ransom for many, that he was going to be an atoning sacrifice. That happened with Peter. I think that's happening on a grand scale here in front of the high priest and with everyone there. That Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God, and he is not meeting their expectations. He's not doing things their ways. They want him to take up their cause. They do not want him to be an atoning sacrifice. And so they reject him, they mock him, they spit upon him. They receive him, the guards receive him with blows. I just wonder how often we're kind of like that, to where we receive Jesus with blows, to where we kind of spit upon Jesus in terms of he came to die for our sins, and instead we want Jesus to take up our causes. How dare he not take up our causes? How dare he die for our sins? Because that means we're sinners. And we don't often like to admit that we're sinners. We're people with good causes. And we want Jesus to take up our causes. Our causes are the right causes. And so we end up trying to, beat Jesus into taking up our causes instead of really accepting that Jesus came to die for our sins. So the passage challenges me to really accept Jesus as our atoning sacrifice that we very much need. And it challenges me to slow down on beating Jesus into someone who kind of takes up my cause, good as it might be in my eyes. But we end up being a people of causes, and we want Jesus to take up our causes, and we want Jesus to fit into our expectations. And I need to slow down there. I need to back off there. I'm the one that needs to submit to Jesus and his cause of atoning for my sin, that I might be reconciled to God, and that we might be at true peace, peace that comes through him with one another and with ourselves. And so wherever you find yourself scattered today, it might be worth kind of double checking. Am I expecting Jesus to take up my cause, good as it may be, whatever it may be? Or am I willing to acknowledge that he is my atoning sacrifice, and I surrender to who he is and to his lordship over my life, and I begin to recognize how desperately I need him? Well, God bless. Have a great day. Whatever your cause is, submit it to Jesus. We need Jesus as our atoning sacrifice. God bless. Have a great day.